Everyone, welcome back to another video on a topic that I don't see a lot of videos on YouTube discussing regarding an aspect of law school, which is class registration. As I mentioned in last week's video, I recently registered for my spring classes, and while every school is different, I think that my experience is probably pretty indicative of what it's like at most law schools, so I thought that might be a helpful thing for me to go over. Generally, your first year of law school, all of your classes are going to be picked out for you. Your schedule is completely determined and you have basically no say in which classes you're taking, when you're taking them, who you're taking them with, how large it is, how it's graded, etc. My 1L year, I took torts, civil procedure, criminal law, property, contracts, and constitutional law, on top of a year-long class in legal writing and research. I've also heard of evidence and I think maybe ethics being taught in first-year courses, since generally all those subjects that I just mentioned are requirements for graduation, or at least strongly suggested. Other highly suggested courses that I could see being in maybe a required curriculum but aren't at my school are things like corporations, criminal procedure, and family law. These are topics that are going to be tested on the bar exam, and so schools have an interest in helping you get a foundational knowledge in those so that you do well on the bar and help their stats as an institution. After your 1L year, you can elect to take these classes and or other classes and electives that you think would be interesting to you. Sorry if the angle just changed. My SD card decided it was full even though I had only been recording for 5 minutes. So anyway, I think I was talking about how as a 2L or a 3L you can choose to take elective classes. So at this point, beyond the things that are required for graduation from your school, you pretty much can just take whatever you want as long as it adds up to the number of credits required for graduation. At my school, on top of our 1L classes, we have to take an ethics class, a seminar, and then 6, I think, experimental units. So that'll be covered by my clinic next spring. But yeah, this spring, I was taking family law, criminal procedure investigation, evidence, lawyer ethics, international courts and tribunals, and comparative business negotiation. A couple of those classes I'm taking because, again, they're going to be on the bar or because they're going to be pretty crucial to what I'm doing in life, mostly the criminal procedure one. But comparative business negotiation I took just because I knew I liked the professor. I forgot to mention that our 1L year, we had to take a 1-credit 3-day intercession class on negotiation and the basic principles of that, and I really liked my professor, and so I knew if I needed a couple extra units I would just take a class that he taught. And then international courts and tribunals I took because it was based on oral presentation as well as had aspects of international law, which otherwise I don't anticipate learning anything about, so I thought that would be interesting. But yeah, that's kind of what drove my decisions for this fall. Let me cut to my reactions from registering the other day, and so you can kind of see how that all shook out. Hey everyone, so I had set up my camera and my computer to record the registration process as it happened, and I forgot. Shockingly, this actually went well, and I got into all the classes that I wanted to. I have the right amount of units. I'm not waitlisted for anything. This is so different than it was last semester. So let me show you my schedule really quick and what it looks like from my screen. So I just started screen recording and this is what it looks like. You can see I'm enrolled in these classes here, but let me go to my registration worksheet. So basically the way that WashU does it, and I imagine other schools probably do something similar, you can pick which classes you want to set up to register for. So I had my first choices of what I wanted, plus I knew I was going to have moot court and prosecution added in there automatically. And my goal was to get into 16 units so that if I do get to study abroad next fall on some crazy miracle, I'll only have to do 12 units there in order to graduate in time and all that. The point is I needed 16 units. Between the prosecution clinic and moot court, I knew I would have 8. That was actually looking sketchy for a moment, but we got it. And so this would be the other 8 between these 3 classes. Conflict of laws is something that is sort of on the bar, not as much as other topics, but I've heard really good things about this teacher. Criminal procedure adjudication is obviously what I want to do for a living, so I thought I should probably take that. And then I really needed a seminar in order to graduate, and this was the only one that had anything to do with criminal law. Then I had some backup options. So if I didn't get into conflict of laws, I could take corporations, which is definitely on the bar, and I'm probably going to regret later not taking, but that's what it is. If I didn't get into criminal procedure, I would probably take corporate and white collar crime. And then I had some other options of pretrial practice criminal, which is something I wanted to take this semester and didn't get into. And then 2 other seminars I thought I could handle, but I'm really glad I got into this one. So then, if we go to my registration, basically the way that we add and drop courses, here, I'll show you. You just kind of hover over it and click which ones you want to be in. And that's it. I don't know, it's not that interesting. Here's the grid view of what my week will look like. And then you'll have to add in there, I think it's 3.5 hours for every unit of the prosecution clinic per week. So I have 7 units, which means 20, I don't know. Hey Google, I have to work 24.5 hours a week on average, on top of attending these classes. I'm very glad my earliest one isn't until 9. That was a goal for me this semester. And then I don't have anything after 5:30. So much more sane amounts of work here. So I imagine I'll be at the prosecutor's office pretty much all of Friday, and that'll be a decent amount of hours. And then I'll probably do, most of Thursday and probably a lot of Wednesday, and try to do most of my class at the beginning of the week. But we'll see how that all shakes out. I don't really know yet. The registration process can be really stressful and tricky because you, like everything else in law school, are forced to compete with your classmates to do the thing that you want to do, whether it's get a good grade, get a good job, or just get into helpful classes. And to some extent, that's the case in college too. Not everyone can take every single class, and I get it. But I think in law school, more than college, there's a smaller number of classes that are highly sought after. It's not as evenly distributed across interests, and so some classes are a lot harder to get in than others. A prime example of this are the seminars, which again, we all have to take one of before we graduate. My understanding of what seminars actually are is pretty limited since I haven't been in one yet, but from what I've heard, it's more of a research-based class, and so you want to pick a topic that is being offered one semester or another that is actually really interesting to you, because you're going to spend a lot of personal time cultivating your knowledge and take on that topic. Out of the 10-ish seminars that were offered this year between this fall semester and next spring, only 2 of them were mildly interesting to me. And when you limit the seminars to 12 students in a class, you just have to hope that not everyone else is interested in the same one as you, because it's really hard to get in. So I was thrilled to get into the criminal justice seminar, which is taught by the professor that I'm currently taking criminal procedure investigation with. So I already have some idea of his teaching style and have figured out how to negotiate my way in that class. If you are newer to my channel and you don't know why criminal justice would be interesting to me, or you just haven't seen this video yet, I did a video just a couple weeks ago on why I'm so interested in being a criminal prosecutor, and you can see an explanation of that right up here. So on top of that seminar, I will also be taking the prosecution clinic for 7 units next semester, which means that I'll be working at the St. Louis City Circuit Attorney's Office. I think I got the order of those words right, which is kind of a lot to do on top of 3 law school classes and moot court competition, which I will also be involved in through February. But I'm really excited about it because that's what I want to do with my life. And I don't mind being busy as long as I like all of the things that are taking up that time, which as far as I know, I do. Between studying criminal justice, working in the prosecutor's office, sharpening my speaking skills and advocacy in moot court, and then learning about concepts from my other 2 classes, which are criminal procedure adjudication and conflict of laws. Criminal procedure adjudication is basically the stuff that I'm more going to be doing instead of investigation, which is more police-centric. Prosecutors and defense attorneys are more involved in the adjudication of a case. So bringing it to trial, doing the whole discovery process and trying to settle with a plea bargain, and the process of bail and sentencing and appeals, and taking things to the grand jury, or maybe even picking out a jury. I'm not sure which of these aspects the class will focus most on yet, but all of this would typically be covered by that kind of course. Conflict of laws is a concept that's a lot broader and would apply to criminal law, but really everything. It's just about what do you do when laws contradict each other. Like if you have 2 different jurisdictions, either because they're in a different state or even a different country, that would equally apply and force to an issue. Who gets to settle it? How is that judgment going to be binding on something outside of the jurisdiction? All of that. It sounds pretty interesting. It sounds really similar to civil procedure in my mind, which I didn't love, but the course description of conflict of laws, which is being taught by a professor I've heard really great things about, sounded really interesting and nuanced to me. So I will definitely keep you guys posted next semester on how that pans out. So let's move past what I've already been doing and move to the advice portion of this video. What do you need to know when one day you are registering for law school classes? Chances are it's not going to be until your 2L year, but it's still good to be thinking about what you're actually interested in learning. You might have a set direction by the time that you have finished your 1L year, or even prior to that, which is the camp I would put myself in, but some people still haven't narrowed their interest even by the time of graduation. And so one thing that they do to prepare themselves for job interviews in a multitude of areas of law is take classes that would cover those different interests. Then they can at least eliminate some that don't make sense to them or don't seem that exciting, and maybe they can concentrate on the ones that do. So if you're thinking, well, I don't want to do corporate law, but I could see myself doing nonprofit or government work, take classes that are open, that have availability for you to think about those, or vice versa. Another thing to consider is your final exam schedule. This is not something I feel like I've had much of a luxury of choice in, because the classes I'm interested in taking are so narrow, and the selection of them is not great. Let me be clear, it's definitely doable and fine. WashU is definitely meeting my needs here, but I can imagine that probably at a lower ranked school with less of a focus on sending students to big laws and clerkships, there might be more opportunity to take nonprofit, private interest, government-centric classes than there is at a top 20 school. But yeah, anyway, your final exam period is a very stressful time. And the more that you can vary the way that you are graded in a class, the better. So this semester, I will be taking 4 written exams. 2 of them ended up being 24 hours, which is great. The other 2 are 4 hours, which in a normal world is how I think it usually goes. And I also have a final paper for negotiation and a final oral presentation for international courts, which I'm doing tomorrow and I'm trying not to think about. Ideally though, you don't have 6 things to do during your last 2 weeks of the semester. 6 big things that determine your entire report card, basically. So if you can, take classes that you know will be graded based on multiple papers or oral presentations or research, or I don't even know what the other options are. And I've also already touched on this third and what I think will be the final point, but think about the bar. You are gonna have to know a little bit of everything to pass the bar exam, which is the point of going to law school, so that you can kind of learn this stuff and take the bar exam and be a lawyer. These are all equally important components in your journey to that ultimate goal. And the more that you can use law school to double up on that studying when you're doing bar prep, the better, I assume, because I I'm not at that stage yet. One thing that I might end up regretting, but we'll see how next year goes, is as of right now, I'm not planning to take corporations or UCC Article 2, which are pretty big components of the bar exam. I just didn't think that it was gonna work well in my schedule either last semester, meaning the one I'm in now, or next semester in the spring, and I don't know what my third year is going to look like yet based on how the world is going. So there is a chance that I'm gonna graduate law school without ever having taken a class in either of these major portions of the bar. Now that's, in theory, okay, because you have plenty of time, like almost 6 months, I think, to study for the bar. And in that time, you make up for what you didn't learn in law school, which I'm still gonna have to do a refresh on contracts, and I basically need to relearn torts. Everything I learned my first year, and even now my second year, because it'll have been a year or two to the time I take the bar exam. I would not want to take a test right now on things I learned 2 years ago. I would not do well. It is advisable to take as many bar relevant classes as you can in law school, though, to provide yourself some foundational understanding when you are doing that prep, so that you're just refreshing versus teaching yourself entirely new material. This video is going so much longer than I originally thought it was going to be, which is a problem because I have no time to edit this week. It's Thanksgiving in a couple days, and like I said, I have a major presentation tomorrow, then my family is coming, and then I have to do a practice exam, and then I have to finish reviewing my notes, and then I'll be taking all of my finals. So I'm gonna stop talking now so that there's less for future Nicole to do on iMovie. Not sure if this video is gonna make it by Saturday, but you know, that's becoming more of a trend these days. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If that was the case, or if you have more questions on this topic or anything else law school related, or me related, I don't know, feel free to drop those in the comments below. Also make sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss when I post my mostly weekly videos, and that you have that bell notification turned on, and YouTube will let you know when every single one of those drops, whether it's Saturday or something else. I'm also gonna put in a plug here for you to follow me on Instagram. I am not a big social media influencer, but I do post every now and again, especially regarding videos and some of the behind the scenes of what it looks like in my day-to-day life that I just don't get in film. If that's interesting to you, my Instagram is LAA Law Student, and there you go. I will see you guys next week, hopefully. Probably. I actually don't know. I might see you next week for another video. We'll see how finals are going. Until then, wish me luck, good luck to you, and God bless.